Hi, I'm Charlie Price, and this is Turning Trends into Money. We're doing Confection Punk, a classic up style with modern, cool texture. We're gonna start with the model's fringe. She has a very strong fringe from the haircut, and we're in luck, actually. It's gonna work in our favor because she has a really strong growth pattern here. We're gonna start by putting a leave-in conditioner on either side of her part. The reason I'm using a leave-in conditioner is because we don't want crunch. We need to be able to move through the hair. We want it flat and shiny before we crimp it. So we're gonna use a bristle brush and a nozzle on the blow dryer. We're gonna direct heat and just get that hair going in the right direction, close to the scalp. All we've done here is just dry that conditioner in so it's nice and close to the scalp. The reason I'm using a flat bristle brush is I don't want any lift. I don't want a poofy round brush look. I want it sleek and to the scalp. This has to be a chic French twist. We don't want any poofy prom bangs. So next, we're going to do one of my very favorite tricks, you guys. And this is the most fun thing that you can do with your styling. Stick some crimping in there. If you've done updos for years and you're looking for a way to refresh and rethink the updo, think about putting this in because it's a modern, cool editorial texture that will take your old-fashioned updo and make it a modern proposition. Crimping the hair can really make it unruly. So what I'm gonna do in an effort to really control the hair is take a horseshoe section and remove it. Work with the sides, then the back, and then we'll finish with the top. Starting with a horseshoe section at the recession point, I'm gonna work my way back around the crown, all the way around, and then end up the same place on the other side. And then clip this out of the way. There's two different ways we could crimp this. We could crimp this horizontally, and that's gonna give us the ability to make the hair flatter. If we went vertically, it's going to make the hair wider. Because we want a classic French twist with a chic shape, we want it as tight to the sides as we can. So we're gonna go horizontally. I personally also prefer not to put hairspray in. We really don't need a bunch of coating of anything sticky in the hair. We want it natural, just like a curling iron set. You don't need to bake it with hairspray on it. When you're crimping, you don't need to get right down to the scalp because sometimes, again, if you over crimp the hair, it's gonna become too big and too unruly. We want a medium amount of crimping, so you can go a ½ inch away from the scalp and that's just fine. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now that we've completed crimping the sides and the back, we're gonna take our horseshoe section, divide it into horizontal sections, and crimp back because that's gonna enhance the high crown of our French twist. I finished crimping the crown back, so now all we have left to do is our fringe. If I were to go through section by section and crimp the fringe, it will stick straight out, but we want the texture to match, so I'm just gonna go over the surface very lightly, so that blends in. Otherwise you have a spider tarantula bang. Sectioning during dress work is every bit as important as it is during color and in cutting. So our sectioning here is gonna start with a horseshoe section in exactly the same manner as we crimped it. The important thing here is that it starts at the recession point. We don't want a mohawk section. We want the entire top of the head encompassed in this horseshoe. We also want to go deeper down into the crown, like the middle of the crown, so that we have as much hair to work with by the time we get to the top of the updo as possible. However, we don't want to go too far down because then we won't see the seam of the French twist, which is the signature of the French twist. So that can rest right there till we come back to it. Next, we're going to remove the sides, because the sides are what I like to call our insurance policy. Remember when you're doing this in the salon that you want to charge for all the prep services. If you're blow drying, curling, setting, or crimping the hair, that's an extra charge. Also, you might think that clients would not be receptive to crimping. Actually, you'd be surprised. Women are looking for a twist on their twist, literally. So you don't have to crimp the entire thing, introduce it in levels. Crimp one section, crimp the surface. Also another great trick that I love to tell people, and women will buy a crimping iron if you do this, crimp the hair at the scalp and teasing will hold in much better. Now that we've got our sections in place, I'm gonna begin with the entire section in the back. And I'm gonna leave out about an inch section at the nape, and it's one of my favorite secret tricks that I will let you in on the next step. We're gonna smooth everything over to one side, making sure that we're controlling this entire section, holding it with a little medium tension as we work that all the way in an upward direction. Before we start with any pins at all, just clip that so that it's real secure while you start your pinning. We're gonna interlock pins, but we don't want an X. We want it more of a zigzag because they'll be easier to hide later. I don't believe in rules, but I do believe in guidelines when it comes to bobby pins. If your bobby pins are gonna show, make sure they're part of the design. But if you want your bobby pins hidden, make sure they're hidden every time. Now you'll know this is successful when you take out the clips and it stays where it's supposed to be. Now we're gonna take vertical sections and we're gonna gently back comb this. We don't need to go crazy because if you think about the shape of a French twist, especially in the back, it should be like a sugar cone on the back of the head. Very tight at the nape and building up gradually as you get to the crown. My favorite thing to teach is teasing or back combing. All you need to do is gently push hair towards the scalp. That's all it is. You don't need to use tension and you don't need to struggle. It should be a very fluid, natural motion. We're gonna go all the way to the ends. So just to control all this hair, I'm gonna clip that out in the same manner as we did before. Now for the special secret. I'm gonna take this inch section at the nape and I'm gonna twist it. I need to make sure that her head is in a normal position and not bent forward. Because what I'm trying to do here is eliminate a sag at the nape, because everyone hates a saggy French twist. This is gonna help you make sure you have a really tight nape area inside your French twist. I'm gonna pull that right up into the center over the interlocked pins and put two pins, one going up and one going down, and that's gonna secure that nape. Now on the teased side of the seam, I'm gonna direct everything up again, add a mist of spray. We don't need to go crazy with the spray. We're gonna work that in gradually. And then wrap the ends around inside of your hand and make that sugar cone on the back. That's the Confection Punk. Sweet and feminine with an edge. Now we're gonna hold that with tension, taking pins and go right in the tornado here, or the sugar cone, and connect into the layer of pins below. That way it's very easy to hide. We're gonna work our way up the seam. Now I'm gonna slowly start moving my fingers out, and I'm gonna pin right into the top of that tornado and secure those ends down into a circle. Now the last thing that I wanna do in this section is take one or two more pins right at the nape into that twist and sneak a couple more pins in there to reinforce that nape area being tight. Then you can still play with this. It's almost like a coil pot. Just work with that shape. Now this is one of the most important moments of the French twist. If this shape is right, we're gonna be good for the rest of the do. It's very hard to mess up after this. So we need to analyze this from every angle, back and the sides, to make sure that we have an elegant shape and that it looks like it was done in one motion. From this side, we want that sugar cone section. Again, we don't want it overly lacquered. Remember, this is like a sketch. That's what makes it modern. So you can have a little bit of frizzies and things flying away, but the overall shape needs to literally look like a sugar cone sitting on the back of the head. We want it tight to the nape, and we want it building gradually as it gets to the crown. From the back, we want to make sure that it's not going off in different directions, and we like the way our seam is coming around. So assess that. And also, it should be almost a little bit of a gradual teardrop shape. Tight at the nape, and it should come wider slightly at the top. Obviously, this is going from one side, so it's going to be a little bit wider at this point now, and that's okay, because we'll fill that in later. Then from this side, we have the same thing. We need it tighter here, larger at the top, and we also need to make sure this is nice and neat here. Even though we have some of the soft, wispy hairs, the overall shape still needs to be that sugar cone from the side. One thing that is a pet peeve of mine is to see a crooked French twist. Some people never look at the front of the French twist. That's why I have these insurance policies of the sides. So whatever way you decide to twist your hair, the corresponding side is the first side that you're gonna work in. Again, I'm going to back comb, but just lightly. Think of this back combing as more of something that's gonna bind the hair together, not an apparatus to build height. That's not what we're trying to do here. Just enough to hold that section together. We're gonna pull this upward, blast a little spray, and then we're gonna weave that in with just a little slack into that tornado shape that we've created. This may not seem like it's going to do much from the front, but as we build the shape, you'll see as this side develops, that's an important step right there. Again, we're just going to hold that until we secure it with pins right into that pin curl. We're gonna leave this side out. This is gonna be our final section. So now we can move into the crown, and we're gonna take horizontal sections and back comb this entire top of the head. Now before we secure anything, with our spray, just add a little bit in there, product, because we want, without any pins or anything, to start creating the silhouette. Silhouette is everything in a style. That's really all we have. So before we secure anything, we're gonna go around the shape, kind of like we did with our sugar cone, and assess this crown shape as we go. Now you can see why I needed that little piece right there. It's filling in that. That would be empty if we hadn't done that side bit before. So now we can gather this if we like the shape just in our finger and assess this from all angles again. And all I'm gonna do is take bobby pins and go right into that tornado. Now you can play with this. Don't pin it to death yet, because now you're gonna go back in and assess the shape again. Sometimes you'll need to re-back comb bits of it, and that's okay. This is the perfect time to do that. Because what we don't want is for that thing to, that look where it's like a ski jump and it's falling off the back of her head. It needs to come almost not too far from the hairline, up and then around, almost like a light bulb. We only have one step left, really, and that's to address the fringe. We just need to also deal with this insurance policy. If this doesn't work, I always have a flower in my kit because it's a great mistake cover-upper. Now, when you wind this insurance policy piece around, make sure you don't smash the front because it's easy to make this too tight. I also love this look because to me it's a bit Alfred Hitchcock after she's been attacked by the birds, but she looks really beautiful still. Now all we have left is to decide what to do with this fringe. If somebody has a really wide fringe, you don't want to part. But this shape for me works really well because it's showing off her forehead and then it's building up this dome shape from each side. So I actually think all I'm gonna do is put a little bit of spray in there and groom that a little bit. This is Confection Punk. It's part of the Alter Ego series, a classic updo for the ages with sexy modern texture. I'm Charlie Price. On behalf of Milady, thank you so much. I love sharing dress work ideas. It's one of my passions. It's a labor of love, and I hope this serves you for the years to come in the salon and beyond.